Welcome to Carolina Sculpture Studio. My name's Clint Button and I'm a granite sculptor. Welcome to video number 135 of the Virtual Stone Carving Apprenticeship. Now, I want to show you something today that's a little different. At least here in South Carolina, we got some snow. This is, I want to show you, it's overcast, but it's nice and bright. This is my absolute favorite, perfect, ideal lighting conditions. Can you see how bright the ceiling is in the studio? Once we get snow on the ground, especially when it's coming down. Now, if the sky was clear and it was snowing, you can be able to see anything in here because you get all this light bouncing off of the white and uplighting or underlighting everything. As it is, I have totally neutral lighting in here. It's wonderful. It isn't too bright and it isn't too dark. And I can put my lamp on. See if this just wrecks the camera. It'll take a minute to warm up there to pop on. But I can put my light on and theoretically it'll warm up here enough. And once that light comes on, I can really control it here in the studio. And I don't know, maybe that light bulb, there it goes. That's how long it takes these old-fashioned incandescent bulbs to light up. I can totally control my light. The light on the model is gorgeous. The light on the stone is gorgeous. I've shown this before. Now that it's stood up here on my wall with all my tools, as I keep my extension, set this here where y'all can see it. There's an extension for my lamp. And I can just undo this screw, lift this up, and I've got a pin through here. This is drilled. I put them together and I drilled it. The pin fits in and that'll extend that lamp several feet so the light goes up above the stone. I've got really good light. But this is, except for it being kind of cold because it's cold enough to snow, this is when the light is just perfect here in the studio. Now, as I'm going forward, I wish I could, it's a big stone. I can only do certain things. But I want to move this, I want to move some stuff. I'll be back here in just a second. I want to show you how I'm going to carve because we've talked about the ergonomics, okay? Laying everything out where tools are right here where it's easy to reach. It's easy to hang up my hand machine. I'm carving with one, I swap over, carve the other one. You know, if you're going to spend the money and think that, you know, having quick change on your hand machines is the way to go, quite honestly, I wouldn't waste the money. I would spend that money a little bit more, get 2 ball valves of whatever kind. If you can't find these old brass ones, you know, you probably won't be able to. Get a couple air valves and have 2 hoses and keep 2 machines hooked up all the time. You're not going to be fast enough, professional enough, whatever. You're going to have to be way, 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 way better than me, and I've been doing this for decades, to need 3 or more hand machines or 3 or more air tools hooked up at the same time. If you've got 2 hooked up, that's all you're going to be able to pay attention to because you're going to be doing rough out work with having like 1 1/4 inch and a 1-inch machine or 1 1/4 inch and a drill of some type, or, you know, a couple of hand machines. You don't need 3 or 4 rigs, and you're way better off to have 2 airlines hooked up. It'll save you immense amounts of time. This is what I'm talking about. It'll save you money long-term on replacing those quick release, you know, air fittings that are just going to vibrate and shake apart. Put 2 airlines on there. Run them up, run a splitter where it comes off. I mean, up here I've got literally my airlines. They run up over the hose. They go to my air trunk, and I've just got 2, remember that so you can see, I just got a T right here where my airlines hook in. And I've got a ball valve, so I turn it on, turn it off. You know, it's good to run it every once in a while to keep it from freezing up. And this is angled up, so any condensate will run down here and go down my line, right down to the end of the line. And then I can drain it off when there's not pressure. But I've got a takeoff like this. I've got one here, I've got one right there for the next station, and then I got another one further down, you know, so we could have multiple people carving at the same time if need be. But put two airlines up. It isn't going to cost you a fortune. You're spending that much money on coffee and other garbage, so just go ahead and do it. But let me set this up and move a couple things and we talked about the strategy of ergonomics and setup. Now we're going to talk about getting into carving this so I can start cutting stone, because I'm sick of talking. I want to cut. Okay, now that that's moved, let's look at this side. Remember, you know, if you're paying attention, umpteen videos ago, I talked about how you will work and you will become fatigued during the course of a project, during the course of a regular day. You'll start off in the morning and you're gonna, you know, have to get into the groove. You know, you're tired, you're hungover, you're not into it, whatever, I don't know. But you're gonna have to get into it and focus. And so that initial time when you get your head together, you've got to have some basic work to do. And that's when you're doing stuff like just 9-pointing and roughing off on big areas that aren't critical, okay? Then you'll be all warmed up, you'll be comfortable, you'll be in the zone or whatever. You know, you get all settled, and now you can do, your head's really clear and you can do really good work. You're ready to do serious work for the day. And so you can start working on things like edges, you know, cutting edges, and doing important work while you're really fresh and you're not fatigued yet, but you're completely warmed up and ready to go. Then at the end of the day, you're going to be tired, and you just want something like, you're going to be doing basic work. You're going to be axing. You're going to be doing something that's very, that's relatively safe to do. There's not a lot of risk involved. And so plan your work, plan your carving, okay? There's so much you can do, only so much you can do with her figure that isn't a risk, okay? That's pretty serious work, right? Because we want her to look pretty. We're trying to create this. And we want this to come out really well in this stone. We want her to look really good. We want her arm and her head and all of her body, everything to look great. We've got all this detail to do with her wings, okay? We also have to do, remember back earlier and I talked about doing work with, it feels like it's not where it needs to be. We still have to cut this backside. Now, the smart thing to do will be to start working on this. And I've got to cut this edge. We're going to cut a corner. We're going to tip this. We're going to cut this off. And we're going to tip to this line with a, you know, we're going to have a 45-degree face that ends on this line, because we don't want to actively cut that line either way. That edge, that corner, we want to produce it by leaving it in place, okay? Now, you can see the big striations. Maybe you can't see it on the video. You can see a little bit. You see the striations from the big saw where they cut this off. Here's our 6-foot dimension that we're trying to retain. And then we got that extra amount sticking up over, and that's where we're talking about having her wings peek up, because this goes over a little bit, and then it's gonna scoop down behind her head. So the top of her head is exposed over here where this background cuts down, you know, like a little grotto or whatever. So we could go ahead. I'm not too worried about axing this face. This is something easy to do. But we'll do that all at once, because we've got to axe from here to here over into this area is where the die portion is going to be, and then we're going to cut that corner off. Remember, we're going to drill that off. So I'm going to start putting this together in a way that I've already set up areas where I can work when I'm starting off in the morning, when I'm fully warmed up and ready to go, and then when I'm ready to relax and unwind towards the end of the workday, so that those are all ready for me. And this will help me carve faster. This will help me produce more work, because I don't want to get fatigued and say, oh God, I got to do something, and work on something important and break it. And I also don't want to have to be setting up something, because this setup is really important. So it's hard to show you, the stone, because it's so large. It's to get it on screen and make it look good. But we're going to set this all up in a way that we've got a lot of avenues to go, so that when I need to, I can transition to a different area or different part of the carving, so that I can keep going at a full speed, and all of these things will come together somewhat in a global capacity. And I hope that makes sense. So let's see what's next. Always 2 Altoids, okay? 2. Before I go into, we're gonna set this up first. It's more of this board prep stuff. I'm gonna set this up and get this ready. So I've just got this, and then we can do the same thing with setting this beveled edge. We'll bevel to this front. We'll cut away a small amount of the edge and bevel to the front. And then we'll work our way into where we pull the center down, because ideally we want to drop the center on this, not cut straight across, because you cut straight across and invariably it'll skew down or up. And if it skews up, you're golden. If it skews down and comes out underneath, you got a problem. So we'll cut this back off, and because this is so big, I'm going to be wearing a mask and I can't talk. There's going to be limits on how much I can communicate. So there'll either be some action stuff, or I'll just be standing here talking. Now, I've had conversations lately with some other people in the industry, and I want to bring this up. We did a discussion with, I was on a panel with some other people who work in the industry and do handwork, tooling, finishing, carving, whatever. There's different characterizations of what people do. I'm in a different position because my cousin Andy taught me how to be a finisher. He taught me how to be a carver. He taught me how to do all these things that sculptors don't learn how to do. They don't learn how to do all this panel work and all this finishing work in general, because they do fancy shapes. That's what sculptors do. Sculptors technically do work in clay and stuff, or just finish jobs, and carvers do all the in-between work. When you get into doing big stuff like this, like you give this to a carver to be banging out all this boring stuff that, I've been doing for weeks and weeks and weeks. Now, and it was brought up about the CNC technology, where you can scan like this model into a computer, and the computer can cut out the vast majority of the project, and then you can go back in and finish it up and scrape off the details. And I understand the allure of it, and I understand the financial benefit of it too. It was brought up that this is something that allows you to produce more sculpture work, which allows you to sell more sculpture work, which allows you to make more money, which drives the market, and blah 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 blah. I was the one negative on that whole perspective, because just like I said on that work, every time you put that in the machine and let the machine do it, somebody's not doing it by hand. And my part of our discussion was based around this being lost, or this whole tradition and this craft and this art becoming a lost art, where people just don't do it anymore. And you got to understand that when you have somebody, an individual with 2 hands, doing all this boring, dirty, hard, difficult, unforgiving work, they're learning, okay? and they're invariably getting paid to learn. Okay, they're having time on the tools, time on the clock. They're earning a living and they're paying their bills. And if you don't do that, far out, whatever. That's your thing, man. My concern is that you're not going to be skilled through experience to know that if you do this now, it will have this impact at a later date. And I really worry every time somebody says, no, it's no big deal, or I love doing it, or whatever. You know, I'm not listening to them. I'm doing what I do. So, I mean, I'm sure they don't care about my opinion any more than I care about theirs. My concern is that the ability to do all this work is going to be lost. So, and the way it won't be lost is that if people are paid to do it, because most people can't afford to just do this for free. I'm not going to go out and buy a piece of stone this big just for the fun of it. You know, we were trained not to carve work on spec, because once it's carved on spec, I don't know if I've said this yet, if I carve this angel just like I've done her, you know, and got her approved and she's pretty and all this, if I carve this on spec and give her, she's holding a dogwood flower over there on the top of the die and it's gorgeous, and I put it out there and put a number on it for sale, invariably, everybody's going to say, well, you know, if she was holding a rose, I'd give you full price, but I don't want a dogwood flower. I'm only going to give you 30% of what you want. Or I wish her hand wasn't over her chest, that it was reaching, it was by her side, or both hands were together praying, instead of holding a thing like that. Because I'd cut that die off and whatever. They will nitpick and try to dicky you down and argue the price, and just, you'll never get paid, never. And that's part of the difference between art and, you know, that you put in a gallery and hope somebody buys someday. That's got to be overpriced enough to cover a 30 to 50% commission rate that your gallery requires, versus having something that's in the industry that they're gonna try to screw you out of your hard-earned money. But I worry every time I hear somebody go that route, because that's one more project that somebody's not getting paid to do. And it may not seem like much, okay? But as a metaphor, okay, when I go shovel out my dust collector and I get 3 or 4 wheelbarrows full of granite dust, powder, fine baby powder, talc dust size pieces of granite, every one of those pieces is a tiny granite sculpture that I carved. I made every one of them. Every single piece of that dust, I made it. Plus all the big pieces that I took off and threw out, hauled out, filled a ditch or whatever. I made all of them. And every one of those pieces of dust taught me something. And it's really humbling when you realize how much it takes to learn how to do this. And that's the lead into the next part of this. People have to get paid. People have to have a way to earn an income if you're going to be a stone carver or a stone sculptor for a living. And it's expensive. There is no way to do it cheap, to do it for free. I've got friends that have online workshops and memberships and communities and, you know, and other tasks. They get paid because people subscribe and they have a monthly session where they, you know, they're live with the artist or the carver, and, you know, they do projects and all this other stuff. That doesn't really fit what I'm doing. I can also set up, you know, somewhat more of a basic deal where I've got a membership option on this YouTube channel, and YouTube gets 30% of what I do, and I don't know, that's kind of, I'm already giving them free stuff to put ads on that y'all are sick of watching. I don't really want to give them 30% of money that I'm earning. But anyways, the bigger part of that is that I could put a subscription membership thing on this where you pay me $15 a month or $20 a month or $5, whatever. And I'd get some money out of it. I can't afford to hire 3 or 4 people to come be my apprentice and pay the insurance and pay the workman's comp and do the taxes and guarantee they've got a check every week and all that. The market isn't like that anymore. Market used to be stronger. When I was starting, there were still studios with multiple people carving, side by side by side. I was in one of them, and we were all on the clock and getting paid. And that isn't the way it works anymore. You know, we're all independent contractors, and there's as far as I know, there's only one place left in the United States where there's multiple carvers side by side by side working together at any given time. You know, when there's enough work for them to all be there. But what I can do to invest in the future of this work is I can do these videos and do them for free. My contact information is out there. You know, I'm not impossible to find. We've got a core of people that watch these videos. And that core of people, there's a few of them that have reached out and contacted me. And I don't say we've taken, you know, what I can share to the next level, but there's been, some of them are doing good stuff. And it's really impressive to see them grow. They're happy about what they're learning, and they like being able to connect with somebody. And that's up to you to take that initiative. You know, I can't spend 5 hours a day on the phone talking with everybody any more than I can spend 5 hours a day talking to people here in the studio. But I don't want to be an obstacle to you succeeding. That's the whole point of doing this project, this Virtual Stone Carving Apprenticeship series. And if I harvest money out of your pocket, you know, you want to send me money, great. I'll take your money. I don't mind that if you want to give it to me. But if I say you got to pay to get in the door, I started this for free, okay? I started this without the expectation that I'd ever make any money off of this, because I see this survival of this, I don't even know what to call it, this craft, this method. You know, it's got more to do with the method than the craft, because the methods go beyond just the granite industry. They're most applicable to what I do. But you know, one of the people that's really dove into this apprenticeship, that's been in touch, that's doing a lot, and we communicate regularly, is in the marble industry, and he's trying to learn how to carve marble to go beyond where he is now, and so it's not exactly the same, but it's very similar. But I don't want to have people like him work a full-time job, you know, put their 40 or whatever hours a week in and make their money and pay their bills and taxes and all this other stuff, and then say, okay, now you got to give me another few $100s a year or whatever out of your money in order to be able to contact me and be in touch with me. I would much rather, and he's already done this, I'd much rather see that he ordered a pointing machine and now he's pointing work. And he's learning, he's buying tools with that money. And if you're going to invest in yourself, I'll try to keep investing in you, okay? And I don't want to get all sappy and whatever, but there's certain things I can do. Gary let a lot of people come to his studio. My master sculptor, Gary Sassy, he had a number of people come through his studio over the years. It gave him a shot to get started. And however he paid him, you know, as a partner or as a union member or whatever, he let him in where everybody else was kicking him out. George Krajanowicz did the same thing. He trained a bunch of people. He tried. He gave people opportunities to come in that other sculptors and carvers wouldn't give them. And they had a really big impact on me because they opened doors and they weren't greedy with it. Just like I said, I don't own this information. This information was provided to me by other sculptors that believed in me, that trusted me, and that were trying to help me. And other masters, you know, across a wide range of spectrum, or a wide range across all this whole industry. And I'm trying to do that with y'all, okay? So please take this seriously. I don't know who you've listened to before. I really don't care. I don't want to get into saying that I'm wrong and they're right or whatever. I don't really care. I'm going to tell you what I know that's the best information that I can put out there. I can do all the finishing work. I can, we did that on the base. If I wasn't a competent finisher, that base, we would have been shut down. I would have had to send it back to Georgia and have somebody cut the base, pitch it, cut it, pitch it, do the scotias, polish it, everything. No, we did it all right here because I was trained how to do that, okay? That's what's important. We didn't even stumble. We just said, well, it's going to be a bunch more work. The problem is I didn't quote for it, but I got to do it. So we just did it, okay? I want to show you how to do these things so you can do all of it. If you cut raised letters or V-cut letters or do a little bit of molding and you've never tried figurative work, great, I hope you try figurative work. I hope these videos will help you do a better job with what you do if that's where you're going to stay and how you're going to be. I'm not in the camp of the modern perspective that leaving point marks on the stone is art. It's not. I just don't agree with that any more than I agree with CNCs and all that other stuff. I want to see the person succeed and the person excel. I don't know. I don't want to preach too much. I want to try to cut some stone, and I don't know how I'm gonna try to show this. And this will probably be enough video for this video. But I want y'all to recognize your part and your role in this. Because this is free, to me, that means you need to be investing in yourself so that you can do this. Because I know, I know, like I talked about before, with the compasses and the triangles, I know there are workshops available where you can go and spend a few days and spend $700 or $800 to take a workshop to learn how to do that. I taught you for free, okay? And whether I taught you better than they did, go spend $800 and find out. But I wasn't taught as a novelty or as a one-off thing. I was taught as if I don't do this right, you're fired, buddy. If you screw that stone up and that's a $10,000 piece of stone, it's got to be replaced, and you're on the hook. If you blew it, you're on the hook. That's a lot different than being an artist and just doing what you feel like and saying, oh, it spoke to me. This is what I felt. This is how it turned out because naturally the stone wanted to go in this direction. That's a bunch of crap. I'm in charge. I'm running this show. I'm going to tell that stone what it wants to be and what it's going to be. If that stone wanted to look like something, or God wanted it to look like this angel, it would have come out of the ground looking like that angel. Does it? No. I bet a bunch of y'all are looking at this saying, man, well, that looks like crap. How's he going to make that look like an angel? Wait and see. Going to make it work, because I have to make it work. Okay, and maybe it'll be good, maybe it'll be bad, but it's going to be what it is. It'll be what I do, and the stone will tell the truth about it. So, thanks for listening to me preach. I'm going to start cutting this, and I'll set this up and get some video of it. But I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do because it's so big. I don't know how well it'll show, but I'm going to bevel this off, and I'm going to cut this in and work this down. Be really careful cutting this in and not go too deep. And when I cut it in and break it off, I'm going to go straight into it with my hand machine. Because if I snap it and it digs and I get a scoop in this face, I'm not going to be happy. I can't do that. So you have to do it in a way that's not going to interfere. And I'm not going to be anywhere as close to the bottom. I'm only going to sew it maybe halfway down or a little bit more, just so I can stay up high enough and finish the rest of it. And once we get a couple of spots good, then we can clear it across just with a square. We can put a square on the back here and cut it in and get it close and get it really right. So, but this is about seeing everything, seeing the long term, the big picture. Look at what's out there. Look at what you're getting. Look at what we're doing together. Look at what I'm doing in this relationship, because this is a virtual apprenticeship, and I'm trying to teach you something, and I expect y'all to participate and listen. There's a handful. I don't expect many people to. I don't care if there's only one or two that actually do this seriously. I win. It's worth all of it. But I really want y'all to see what's going on, and for the ones that need this to happen, I want that to work for y'all, and I'm trying to support you. And even if it's only saving you some money on membership fees or subscription fees, please put it into your equipment, buy the right stuff, and do a good job. All right, because that's how you're going to get good at doing this work. All right, blah blah blah, you're running my mouth. All right, my name's Clint Button. I'm a granite sculptor here at Carolina Sculpture Studio with the Virtual Stone Carving Apprenticeship. Thanks for coming in.